Morning, it's Nick. What am I talking about today? Crikey. Life, menopause, walking. So, where to start? I haven't felt too great lately. Not in the sense, not like in the early days of my menopause when I didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm just pausing because thinking back to those early days of the menopause, it was pretty shit. I could hardly get out of bed. I was so depressed it was untrue. Everything hurt. I just felt like a steamroller had gone over me. And I was just so hugely relieved to get the right medical support and get back on track. And that was nearly 6 years ago now. Now, that's for years. Had a few bumps, but overall, it's been okay. And the medical and therapeutic support has been amazing. And there's a lot of things that have changed in my life that I wouldn't have done without the menopause. So I'm actually really grateful for that. And one of the big things, I finished my first point. So why haven't I felt very well? Well, in my non-professional, non-medical, non-trained opinion of just trying to listen to my body, we don't really know what's going on. So I've vlogged about this. My thyroid keeps showing up as having a bit of a problem. Thyroid is part of your hormonal system. The medication they put me on didn't suit me, so I have stopped. I feel better for stopping it, but I still don't feel quite right, and I've still got quite a lot of other symptoms which are not acute, but they are, they impact your sense of well-being. And so after discussions with my GP, so yes, please do, so important to have a GP that you can talk to on a regular basis and just talk these things through, and that, they know you, they have a relationship, so they understand the symptoms within the context of you. I've decided, for better or worse, to take a break from everything, and that includes my HRT, because I think the feeling is we kind of need to reset. We need to reset and baseline myself back at where I am now, what my body is naturally doing, how it's coping by using what it's got, not what I'm giving it, and then we can re-establish the baseline and work out how best to support some of the symptoms that I'm experiencing. Those symptoms, there's a lot of bloating. I'm doing an enormous amount of exercise. I'm doing some really very good controlled strength and conditioning exercise in a gym with coaches. As you can see, I'm out on my walk. I have gone back to walking today. I got out of my routine because the hot weather came in and it was difficult to walk the dogs because it was too hot. That is no longer an excuse. And I realised that walking it's a really fundamental part of my well-being and my mental health, because what walking does is it moves energy in me. So even if I feel completely and utterly shattered, I can still manage a slow walk and it just shifts something. And then if I'm still shattered at the end of the walk, it's more of a physical exhaustion. So I get, if I go for a nap, it's a deeper nap. But very often it actually shifts my energy levels, it shifts my anxiety, it helps clear my head. Even just doing stuff like this is, it's hugely helpful, and there's so many of you that reach out and comment, and I read all of them. I don't engage. It's not because I'm rude or I don't care. It is just really managing my time, and there's just there's 7 hours in the day, and the point is the comments and knowing that maybe it might have helped somebody see something in a different way or reach out for help is hugely comforting for me. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. But and so this walking isn't some horrible thing I have to make time for in the day. This is a really fundamental part of self-care, really, because it's the space and it's the time, and there's just something, particularly if I've got a lot of anxiety or sadness, very often I'll be out on this walk and I might sob or shout all the way round. I am in the countryside, so I do have the ability to do that. Or one walk I went out on, I actually played, my 80s pop list, and I think I danced all the way around. It just allows me to, it gives me permission to feel and just take that space. So, yeah, I'm really grateful to the menopause, because had the menopause not come along, I wouldn't have done, I wouldn't be living the nourishing, I live a really pretty nourishing, peaceful and content life, I'm really pretty happy with my life, and I think it's a real privilege to be able to say that. But there's a lot of things I wouldn't have addressed. I would have still been living in my frantic, go, competitive, very ego-driven type world if it wasn't for the menopause. I just couldn't keep it up in that world. I was just too knackered. That's all there was to it. I was just too knackered. So the menopause, redirected me to live a far simpler life and to really reconnect with nature. There's nothing I like more than, sitting in my garden with a cup of tea and actually just navel gazing. It's bloody lovely. But yeah, the point. So I'm still getting really a lot of backache in my lower back, which maybe fuck all to do with the menopause for all I know. It could just be to do with my back. I'm weeing like there's no tomorrow. I don't know if anybody else has this, particularly in the mornings. I go to the loo, 10 or 15 minutes later I have to go again. And it's not like just a small wee, it's lots of wee. And I'm really bloated. I'm really bloated a lot of the time. And I do, gosh, I've digressed all over the place. Anybody still with me? So 8 weeks ago, I started taking my fitness very seriously because I had an operation last year. I ruptured my Achilles tendon and I had an operation to repair it. And the physio basically said to me a few weeks ago, look, you're either going to have to do the work or this is as good as it gets. And I'm like, shit, I don't want this to be as good as it gets because I'm limping, my leg is really thin, there's no muscle, the muscle wastage is really breathtaking how quickly our muscles waste. And the most important thing, I couldn't wear heels. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to go back into the really high heels I used to wear. God, I used to wear towering heels. Oh, I forgot, I'm on the really steep hill, so I'm going to huff and puff for a bit, bear with. And so 8 weeks ago I started at our local YMCA, which is bloody amazing. The most inclusive, supportive, the technical expertise is just breathtaking. The quality of the place is like a 5-star personal training gym. Absolutely amazing, I love it. And I do 4 classes a week, and it's a strength and conditioning class. So it's very much about building your strength and your fitness to enable you all to live as full a life as possible. I do yoga a couple of times a week, which I really like, and definitely I am so stiff. I don't know if anybody else has found this in the menopause, but God, I creak. Everything is so stiff. And yoga, I would like to get to the point, the Trudy Styler and Sting approach of being able to do 10 or 15 minutes yoga every single day, because it makes a fundamentally massive difference to my stiffness and my aches and pains. I do that a couple of times a week, and then today I've got up early, had a good talk with myself and got myself out on my walk, because this is where the real mental and emotional work's done, if I'm honest, out here on the fields. Because you know what, God, this is so true. You want to heal, you got to feel. It is so true, and that's all the uncomfortable stuff too. And the menopause brings so much of that up. And I have a massive hypothesis about the menopause, because it impacts our balance, our finely tuned orchestra of hormones. Any pot that's just been simmering, any wound that's not been quite cleaned, traumas that I didn't even know were traumas, things that I didn't even know had upset me, came up in the menopause. And that is fundamentally, that is as important as the physical and biological stuff. So, all of that is to say, the bloating, the aches, the generally feeling a bit fatigued and shite. We wonder whether, because they changed my HRT from a patch, which I loved, to a gel, they changed it because my body started rejecting it because I've been using it so long. But the same principle as antibiotics. If you use them too much, they stop working. And the gel, I've always found a bit aggressive, if I'm honest, in terms of what it does. So I'm going cold turkey for next week. I'm day 4 of no HRT. I know, or I am anticipating, that I will have a hormonal crash, which will consist of lots of tears, disengagement, low self-esteem, very short-tempered, very anxious, overwhelmed by stuff. Yesterday I found myself getting quite sharp about some stuff. So I've warned everybody in the household, I'm off HRT for the next 2 weeks. We're going to have to just roll with it. I'm on day 4, and that's why I came out for walks. I thought, if I'm going to crash, this is where, if I'm going to heal, this is where I need to feel. And the whole point, what is the point of this vlog? Well, I'm just sharing, I guess. I'm just sharing my journey. And then one of the reasons I think that everybody's journey is so unique is that our life stories are so unique. And because I think the menopause is as much about our emotional as our physical state, we all have different things that we do or do not need to tend to. And for anybody who gets a chance, I've been listening of late to Gabor Mate. He is a physician, and he's written a book, and he has a theory, very, very profound, and ultimately so logical when you listen to it, that our traumas, small traumas and large traumas, and our mental and emotional states absolutely are a fundamental part of our physical health. And as he points out, when when we go to see somebody, our GP or menopause consultant, whoever it is, they say, okay, tell me about your symptoms. How often does anybody really go, tell me about you, tell me about your life, tell me about what's going on? Because we are a holistic, total being. This is far too long, isn't it? So, I'm sharing. I'm on a reset. 6 years in. I need to take stock. I need to understand how my body will cope without the props. I don't recommend this. I'm not recommending this at all. I've done this with, the support and my GP being very aware, my family being very, very aware. We're doing this as a short-term, I don't know if experiment's the right word, but approach to really do a review. This is a review and saying, how am I doing? What does my body now need 6 years on? Because when we keep putting stuff in, I think it feels, for me and my GP, it's all getting a bit mixed up. I have to change the HRT, and the thyroid's not really quite clear. So next week it's a fresh blood test to see what is happening with the thyroid, because I've been several weeks clear of any medication for that. And then also I'll be 10 days clear next week of any HRT, so I might leave that a bit longer. But just like in anything, in life, sometimes we just need to stand and take a look, and knowing, having this self-awareness that the hormonal drop's coming and what that actually means is so different to when it happened to me in the early days, and I didn't have a fucking clue what was happening to me. I thought I was going mad. I thought that was it. So that in itself empowers me. It does empower me. So we'll see how it goes. As ever, I will keep you posted. Okay, lots of love.